The alarms screamed as the impossible happened. A 2-ton dragon, engineered to be the perfect weapon, just shattered its unbreakable prison. But it wasn't rampaging. It wasn't escaping. It was searching for the one man who had loved it 20 years ago. And when they finally reunited, the world would learn a terrifying truth. You can't erase love, not even with science. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. Now, let's jump into the story. The alarm wasn't just loud, it was earth-shaking. A sound so deep, it vibrated through the bones of every person inside the Nebraska Biogenetic Research Facility. For exactly 3.2 seconds, the entire security team froze. Their training manuals hadn't prepared them for this. The klaxons blared, lights flashed crimson, and the automated voice repeated the unthinkable. Code Black, Code Black. Subject Storm has breached containment. In the control room, Security Chief Darian Cole gripped the edge of his desk. His knuckles turned white. Storm wasn't just any test subject. Storm was a dragon, a genetically engineered, 2-ton creature with wings that could slice steel and intelligence that defied science. And now, he was loose. Down in the main atrium, chaos erupted. Scientists dropped their tablets, sprinting for emergency exits. Visiting families, today was Bring Your Child to Work Day, scrambled in every direction. A little girl dropped her stuffed toy, but her mother didn't stop to pick it up. No one wanted to be near a creature designed for war. But Dr. Mira Soren, the facility's lead xenobiologist, didn't run. She watched the monitors, her sharp eyes narrowing. Storm wasn't tearing through walls or burning everything in sight. He moved with purpose, his massive blue-scaled body weaving through corridors too small for him. His golden eyes scanned the area, searching. For what? He's not attacking, she muttered into her headset. He's looking for something. Darian's voice crackled back, tense. Doesn't matter. Protocol says we neutralize the threat. Mira didn't respond. She kept watching. Storm's nostrils flared, sniffing the air. Then, without warning, he turned, not toward the exits, but deeper into the facility, toward the old, disused sector. In a dimly lit hallway, an old man in a faded janitor's uniform paused. Leonard Leo Bryce had worked here for decades, long before the dragons were more than sketches in a lab notebook. He wasn't supposed to be in this wing. His security clearance had been revoked years ago. But today, something had pulled him back. Then he heard it. The heavy, rhythmic thud of massive footsteps. The air grew warmer. A shadow filled the corridor ahead. Leo didn't run. He stood still, his wrinkled hands steady. The dragon emerged from the gloom, his scales shimmering under the flickering lights. For a heartbeat, they stared at each other. Then Leo smiled. Ember, he whispered. The dragon froze. That name hadn't been spoken in 20 years. Not since Leo had been forced to leave. Not since the little hatchling he'd raised had been turned into a weapon. Storm, no, Ember, lowered his head. A sound rumbled from his chest, deep and resonant. Not a growl, not a threat. It was the dragon equivalent of a purr. In the control room, Mira's breath caught. You've got to be kidding me. Darian's voice was tight. What's happening? Mira couldn't look away from the screen. We were wrong. He wasn't escaping. He was coming home. The alarms still wailed. The facility was still on lockdown. But in that quiet hallway, something impossible had just happened. A bond, long buried, had been remembered. And nothing, not steel, not science, not time, could break it. The facility held its breath. The alarms still screamed, but in that narrow hallway, time seemed to stop, Leo stood frozen, his old heart pounding. The dragon before him was enormous now, nothing like the tiny hatchling he'd once cradled. But those golden eyes were the same, full of intelligence, full of memory. "Ember," Leo said again, softer this time. His voice cracked with emotion. He slowly reached out a trembling hand. The dragon sniffed his fingers, then pressed his massive snout into Leo's palm. The purring grew louder, vibrating through the floor. In the control room, Mira's fingers flew across her keyboard. "This shouldn't be possible," she muttered. The neural inhibitors were supposed to erase long-term memory attachments. The data on her screen told one story. The scene before her told another. Darian barked orders into his headset. "All teams, hold fire. Repeat, do not engage." He turned to Mira, his face pale. "What the hell is happening?" Mira didn't answer right away. She was watching the security feed. Leo was now running his hands along the dragon's snout, murmuring words too quiet for the mics to catch. The dragon's eyes slid half-closed in contentment. "They know each other," she finally said. And Storm, no, Ember, remembers. 20 years earlier, Leo had been the facility's chief behavioral specialist. He'd been there when the first dragon eggs hatched. While other scientists saw weapons, Leo saw living creatures. He'd named the blue hatchling Ember for the glowing patterns on its scales. He'd fed it by hand, read to it at night, even slept in its enclosure when storms made it anxious. Then the military took over the program. Bonding was seen as a weakness. Leo was removed. Ember became Storm. The gentle hatchling became a soldier. Back in the present, the dragon suddenly lifted his head. His spines twitched. Someone was coming. A squad of security officers rounded the corner, weapons raised. Leo immediately stepped between them and the dragon. "Don't!" he shouted. "You'll only make things worse." The lead officer hesitated. "Sir, step away from the subject. This is a code black situation." Ember growled, the sound shaking the walls. Leo placed a calming hand on the dragon's leg. "Easy, boy. Easy." To the officers, he said, "Lower your weapons. He's not dangerous unless you make him be." Mira's voice came through the officer's earpiece. "Stand down. I repeat, stand down." She was already hurrying toward the scene, tablet in hand. This was the most important behavioral data she'd ever witnessed. As she approached, she saw something extraordinary. The dragon was carefully folding his wings, making himself smaller, less threatening. His eyes never left Leo's face. Mira stopped a safe distance away. "Mr. Bryce, I'm Dr. Soren. Can you tell me what's happening here?" Leo didn't take his eyes off Ember. "What's happening is you people made a mistake. You thought you could erase 20 years of bonding with a few neural tweaks." He scratched under the dragon's chin. "But love doesn't work that way." In the background, unnoticed by anyone, a junior technician was live streaming the encounter on his phone. The video was already going viral. #DragonReunion started trending worldwide within minutes. Darian's voice crackled over the comms. "Dr. Soren, we have a problem. The other dragons are becoming agitated." Mira checked her tablet. The facility's other 5 dragons were all pressing against their enclosure way. Their stress levels were spiking. They can sense him, she realized. They know Ember found his old friend. Leo looked up at the towering dragon. "You've been lonely, haven't you, boy?" Ember made a soft, chirping noise no one had ever heard before. It sounded like grief. Just then, a new voice cut through the tension. "This is highly irregular." Professor Vance Carter, the facility director, strode forward, his face tight with disapproval. "Mr. Bryce, you are trespassing on classified government property." Ember's reaction was instant. His spines flared. A deep rumble built in his chest. Leo patted his side. "Easy now." He turned to Vance. "You took everything from him, from me, but you couldn't take this." Vance's eyes narrowed. "Security, trank the subject, now." As the dart guns raised, Ember moved faster than anything that size should. His wings swept forward, shielding Leo. His jaws opened slightly, revealing gleaming teeth. The message was clear. Harm would be met with. The standoff might have turned deadly if not for the sudden crash from deeper in the facility. Another alarm began blaring. Mira checked her tablet and went pale. "Sir, the other containment units, they're failing." Vance whirled toward her. "What?" Mira looked from the screen to Leo and the dragon. "They're responding to him. They're trying to get out too." In that moment, everyone understood. This wasn't just about one dragon and one old man. This was about what happened when you tried to remove the heart from a living creature. The facility was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The facility shook with another distant crash. The sound of bending metal echoed through the corridors. Mira's tablet flashed red with multiple alerts. Containment units 3 through 6 were showing critical stress levels. The other dragons weren't just agitated. They were trying to break free. "Shut down the alarms," Vance ordered, his voice tight. "We need to calm this situation before it gets worse." Mira didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the data streaming across her screen. "It's too late for that," she said quietly. "They're communicating." Leo kept one hand resting on Ember's side, feeling the dragon's rapid breaths. "Of course they are," he said. "You people never listened close enough to hear it." Darian's security team formed a nervous half-circle around them, weapons still raised, but no longer aimed. The junior technician's livestream had now reached millions. The world watched as science collided with something deeper. Mira scrolled through years of research files. "The neural inhibitors were supposed to block emotional attachments," she muttered. "But look at this." She turned her tablet toward Vance. The pathways didn't disappear. They rerouted. Vance scowled at the data. "That's impossible. The conditioning was perfect." "No," Mira countered. "It was incomplete. We suppressed the bonds, but we didn't erase them. The emotions went dormant." Her gaze shifted to Leo and Ember. Until today. Another crash rocked the facility. This time, it was closer. The walls trembled. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Ember's head snapped up, his nostrils flaring. He let out a low, rumbling call that made the air vibrate. From deep in the facility, answering calls came. 4 different voices, 4 different dragons. The sounds weren't roars of anger. They were cries of recognition. "They're calling to each other," Leo realized. "Ember's telling them he found me." Vance's face darkened. "This is a security breach of the highest order. We need to recontain all subjects immediately." Leo stepped forward. "Or what? You'll trank them all? Lock them back in cages?" His voice grew stronger. "Look at what you're seeing. Really look. These aren't machines. They're living beings with memories, with hearts." Mira's fingers flew across her tablet. "He's right. Look at the biofeeds." She turned the screen again. "Their stress levels drop every time Ember makes that sound. It's like," she hesitated, "like a parent calming their young." The realization hit the room like a shockwave. The dragons weren't rebelling. They were responding. 20 years of suppressed bonds were resurfacing all at once. Darian lowered his weapon slightly. "So, what do we do?" Before anyone could answer, a new voice crackled over the comms. "Director Carter, this is West Wing Security. We have a situation. Unit 3 is compromised. Repeat, Unit 3 is..." The transmission cut off with a burst of static. Vance's face went pale. Unit 3 housed the largest dragon, a massive crimson female codenamed Fury. If she got loose, Ember suddenly pushed past Leo, his body tense. His golden eyes locked onto the hallway leading west. Leo understood immediately. "She's out," he said. "And Ember knows it." The security team tensed, preparing for the worst. But Mira was watching Ember's behavior. "Wait," she said. "Look at him. He's not afraid. He's concerned." Leo moved to Ember's side. "You want to help her, don't you, boy?" The dragon nudged Leo gently, then looked toward the west wing again. Vance shook his head. "Absolutely not. We are not releasing one dangerous creature to handle another." "Dangerous?" Leo rounded on him. "The only dangerous thing here is your ignorance. These dragons were never the problem. Your treatment of them was." Another crash, closer this time. The facility's lights flickered. Then, from the west corridor, a shadow moved. Massive, deliberate. Fury emerged slowly. Her crimson scales gleamed under the emergency lights. She was bigger than Ember. Her wings still partially folded to fit the corridor. The security team stumbled back, but Mira held her ground. Fury's eyes locked onto Ember. The two dragons stared at each other. Then something extraordinary happened. Fury made the same soft chirping sound Ember had made earlier. A sound of recognition, of family. Leo exhaled shakily. She remembers too. Mira's tablet beeped urgently. She looked down, then gasped. "Sir, you need to see this. The other dragons, their vitals just stabilized. All of them." Vance stared at the data in disbelief. "That's not possible. They were at critical stress levels 30 seconds ago." "They were scared," Leo said simply. "Now they know they're not alone." The weight of the moment settled over the room. The facility's carefully constructed control was unraveling. Not because of violence, but because of something far more powerful, something science couldn't measure. Mira made a decision. She stepped forward between the dragons and the security team. "Stand down," she told Darian. "All of you. We're doing this a new way." Vance started to protest, but Mira cut him off. "Look around you. We're witnessing something unprecedented. These creatures have bonds we never understood, bonds that survived 20 years of suppression." She gestured to Leo and the dragons. "This is the future of the program, if we're smart enough to embrace it." The facility fell silent, except for the dragons' quiet rumbles. The world held its breath. A choice had to be made. Control or understanding. Fear or trust. In that moment, something fundamental shifted, not just in the facility, but in everyone who witnessed it. The truth had been uncovered. Now, they had to decide what to do with it. The silence in the facility stretched like a held breath. Vance stood frozen, his eyes darting between the dragons and Mira's determined face. Outside, the world watched through shaky phone footage as history unfolded in real time. The hashtag #DragonsRemember was now trending globally. Then, with a slow exhale, Vance's shoulders slouched. "Stand down," he told the security team. The words tasted bitter, but necessary. Weapons lowered. Tension bled from the room. Leo didn't waste the moment. He moved between Ember and Fury, placing a hand on each dragon. Their scales were warm under his fingers, alive with energy. "See," he murmured, "it's going to be all right now." Mira approached cautiously, her tablet still displaying the dragon's stabilized vitals. "We need to check the others," she said. "If they're all responding like this," Vance rubbed his temples, "the oversight committee will have my head for this." "Or they'll thank you," Mira countered. "We just discovered these creatures can form lifelong bonds. That's invaluable data." She glanced at Leo. With the right handling, a quiet chirp made them turn. Fury had nudged Ember with her snout, then looked pointedly down the corridor. Leo understood first. "They want to see the others," he said. Vance opened his mouth to refuse, but the words died when Fury fixed him with an unblinking stare. The massive crimson dragon huffed, sending a warm gust of air that ruffled Vance's hair. It felt suspiciously like a warning. "Fine," Vance muttered, "but we do this carefully, and you," he pointed at Leo, "are officially reinstated as consultant. Someone needs to keep these overgrown lizards calm." Leo's smile could have lit up the room. "You won't regret this." The procession that moved through the facility would become legendary. 2 dragons leading, their massive bodies moving with surprising grace through man-made halls. Leo walked beside them, looking smaller than ever, but radiating quiet confidence. Mira followed, recording everything. Vance brought up the rear, muttering about insurance policies. When they reached the main containment wing, the remaining 4 dragons were already waiting. Their enclosures stood open, the locks disengaged from the inside. None had fled. All stood at attention, eyes fixed on Ember and Fury. Leo stepped forward. "Well now," he said softly, "look at you all." The dragons responded with a chorus of rumbles and chirps. The smallest, a sleek silver female, actually pranced in place like an excited puppy. Mira's scientific mind reeled at the display of clear individual personalities. Over the next hours, something miraculous unfolded. The dragons interacted with careful precision, touching snouts, rumbling greetings. Leo moved among them, like a shepherd with his flock, calling each by names only he remembered. The silver one was Mist, a hulking black male with shadow. Mira documented everything. "Their social structure is more complex than we imagined," she noted. "They're not just recognizing Leo, they're reconnecting with each other." As the sun set, casting golden light through the facility's skylights, a new reality took shape. Vance made the call to headquarters, explaining the irreversible developments. To everyone's shock, the response wasn't anger, but interest. The world was watching. Public opinion had shifted. Dragons weren't monsters. They were beings capable of loyalty, memory, even love. Leo found Mira reviewing footage later that evening. "They're offering me director position," she told him. "Seems I'm the only one who didn't panic today." Leo chuckled. "You'll do great. Just remember, they're not subjects. They're people." Outside, Ember lay curled around Leo's small cabin on the facility grounds, his wings forming a protective canopy. The image would grace magazine covers worldwide by morning. The military's living weapons had become something else entirely. In the coming weeks, the program would pivot entirely. The dragons were retrained as search and rescue assets. Their intelligence, once meant for destruction, now located earthquake survivors. Their strength lifted collapsed buildings. Their fire melted through debris. Leo spent his remaining years with Ember always at his side. Children would visit just to see the gentle giant who purred when scratched behind his ear ridges. Scientists would study the unbreakable bond between man and dragon, rewriting textbooks on animal behavior. And every morning, as dawn broke over the facility, Ember would greet the sun with a joyful roar, a sound that once caused fear, now signaling hope, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful force isn't control. It's the simple, unshakable power of being remembered.